Hi, I'm Bert Bruggeman, CEO of Gefira Solutions. We're a technology advisory firm based in Silicon Valley with a expansion agenda for the African continent, looking to participate, drive, and create innovation solutions in the hardware space.
Welcome to the African Tech Roundup, Bert.
Thank you very much, Andile. Glad to meet you and happy to be on the program that I listen to so often on the highways in Silicon Valley.
Wow, you said that to me off mic, and it's very generous of you to say it again on mic. We have a common friend in Stephen Ozigbo, who, of course, I was very humbled to know put you onto the podcast, and now you're listening to it too. It's kind of sometimes a little weird meeting people who listen as closely as you do, because we've already had chats about stuff I've said, and it's kind of weird, but also wonderful.
Yeah, and I'm very, very happy to meet you, and see the face behind the voice that I got accustomed to over the last year.
Well, thank you again. Now, you've got the unique privilege of running an organization that services very large, existing, huge, big brand names. We won't drop any, but just think as big as you like in terms of like Silicon Valley tech on one hand, and then really 2-3 person startups with hardware needs. You're the get it done man. Tell me what that experience has been like in a place like Silicon Valley, which many people think of really as, for better or for worse, really the epicenter of global tech.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily special, innovative, or awkward the way things happen in Silicon Valley. It's people, smart people that work in small companies or large companies that have problems technically, operationally, commercially, business-wise, to transform that idea into a product, into manufacturing. So they're struggling with the same problems. And through our experiences, we have methods, we have tools, we have partnerships that assist in solving them. So it's a very practical, hands-on approach by which we operate and serve the 2-3 person startup that's trying to get money or has some money and wants to shine in front of their investors, or the bigger multinational that's struggling with very specific hardware technology innovation programs that needs similar solutions. They may be big, but they may not know all the tools or have all the insights, or have become a little bit too stiff to see the solutions by which they got big. Yeah.
And so, how is it? Do you think that the word technology has become almost synonymous with software? And being a hardware man, what do you see as problematic with that strange fetish that many of us, myself included, if I'm honest, tend to nurture?
Well, I don't think there's anything bad with it, but you do have to clarify these days. I just met a person here 10 minutes before the interview, and she was talking about the technology she was in, and he was using technology and with her technology company. So I had to clarify what that really meant, and so it was a software, a coding type of application. And again, there is nothing. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, as long as we keep realizing that technology solutions are more than software. There's typically hardware behind it. And hardware solutions these days do have a sizable software component. So I see some level of convergence happening. Of course, people talk about smart, connected hardware, and I think that's great. That's good. And it's in that combination that firms like ours strive and work on. We, at the end of the day, we do help in making things. Which goes beyond writing code on a laptop. So we like to get our hands dirty in prototype labs, working with machines, getting it into factories, ramping those lines, and solving those kind of problems.
I suppose when I asked the question, I thought of what's often, lines that are often bandied about at industry conferences that I frequented in the past. This idea of Africa being in this position to potentially leapfrog technologies because of mobile, or I personally find it problematic because I don't know how, if at all, you can leapfrog electricity or access to fresh running water or good healthcare or education, for example, and I feel that helping people have a more healthy and more nuanced understanding of what technology and what it exists to achieve is quite important in helping us avoid oversimplifying, what's required to solve Africa's problems. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely true. There's clearly a first big wave that's going over the African continent that's driven by the software technology, if you will. It's easier to get started with. The investment levels are typically smaller. The time to a return potentially quicker. So it perhaps naturally that this is how the innovation wave did start. On the other hand, I think it's very clear that we can't app our way out of all the problems on the continent. We can't app our way into employing tens of millions of people in jobs that will be needed as the continent grows. So we have to get our hands dirty. We have to build products. We have to build infrastructure that deals with creating electricity, improving water supply. Even in Cape Town, I have not heard any idea in this two-day conference about entrepreneurs talking about how they will alleviate problems like we're currently having in Cape Town, either today or in the future.
You're referring obviously to the water plus supply problem, an unprecedented water shortage this region is seeing, and you're right. It's the last thing on our minds.
That's right. So we need to start adding hardware technology to the narrative of technology in Africa, and that's where we come into play, where we can bring technology, hardware technology, to the African entrepreneur that I believe has a very unfair advantage of being extremely close to the problems that many communities face. They'll have the highest level of empathy to solve them, but we have to give them technology. We have to give them hardware insights that exist internationally. We can bring that here, in the process nurture their skills and have them produce with more makers capabilities. These prototype products, these initial outputs, and then invest in infrastructure to actually make it. The output of all of this should be factories that participate in the supply chain locally and not get outsourced from the continent so that we then have to import it. So I really see that as a second wave, technology in Africa 2.0, if you will. Let's bring hardware in the equation, solve tough problems with local ingenuity, and have participation in the supply chain once that got achieved.
So you've obviously benefited from the good work of Stephen's organization, Lions Africa in Silicon Valley, and I raise it because the commitment level I've observed in you, which is admirable, by the way, in immersing yourself in the context of this beautiful and very large and very nuanced continent it's been incredible actually to observe. Talk me through the process of how someone like you, who is so attuned and quite frankly from a business perspective doesn't need to stray into our space. Talk me through the process of you coming to terms with what the issues here are and how you might be of service here and how you might actually I'd go as far as saying adding value and do business here.
Yeah, well, thank you for that nice comment. I started with a few visits to Africa, to South Africa, Zambia, and observing two worlds: a world of sophistication in Cape Town, but also observing other parts of South Africa, Zambia, even in Zimbabwe, where things are not as sophisticated. And coming back to Silicon Valley, sitting in coffee shops over there, talking with entrepreneurs, talking with people that invent products that sometimes miss that connection to solving these type of problems that I saw. At some point, an entrepreneur was very excited to talk to me about a coffee cup that had artificial intelligence that would keep the temperature at your preferred temperature, that would learn from your behaviors. While admirable and sophisticated in its engineering, imagine that type of energy and thought and even money being applied to creating a water supply improvements in places that we're talking about, or improving electricity for certain communities. So I think it's those type of visits and seeing some of those disconnects that got me motivated to kind of start taking a deeper look into what goes on in Africa. I was very lucky to get acquainted with ATF and with Steven, and he drove me even harder, kind of understanding the nuances. And it's like I'm personally perhaps a little bit more adventurous than maybe the classical or the traditional Silicon Valley entrepreneur. I could go sit in boardrooms for the next 20 years in Silicon Valley and do great things and participate in value creation that way. Could do that. Do I want to do that? Perhaps the next 20 years I can bring my talents and my company's talents and services to bear in this environment and solve problems and bring value in a very different way that I see are needed here, and make money and create social value as well. Kind of that combination is really what started motivating me to spend more and more time here.
And so, given all that, what in your experience has been or is the most commonly misunderstood thing about Africa corporately, and perhaps more uniquely the markets you've set eyes on, or perhaps even things that you have started to assimilate from a distance through, speaking to the right people, having conversations with people from certain places, or listening to our podcast, for example? What would you say is the most commonly held misconception in Silicon Valley about us?
Well, I mean, I think it's the expected one, perhaps from your side, which is people don't get beyond their TV screen, or behind their or beyond their the news flashes they see on their laptops or mobile phones. It's Africa is corruption, it's violence, it's those type of things, which is just part of that is true, but there is so much more that's beyond those headlines. I think that still remains a very big misconception in the environment of Silicon Valley, and probably in other places in the world. But when you start explaining and you start talking about places like Cape Town, these type of conferences, the emerging VC private equity landscape, make them listen to podcasts of African Tech Roundup, that view changes quickly. Actually, people get excited. It's not a very difficult thing to change that. Once you start talking about it and start showing them different aspects. So I also find that these smart people and entrenched people and maybe looking a little bit unidirectional, you can change those viewpoints and create excitement. Yeah.
And so for yourself, what do you see as the next obvious actionable step in acting on your desire to do everything you've described so far?
Yeah. So I mean, we're obviously in the beginning of our adventure of expanding and deploying. We're looking for relationships, we're looking for networks, and obviously we're looking for our first clients. Let's not be mistaken, I'm a capitalist, we're here to make money and do many other good things as well. So it's looking for those connections. We have a few first projects we're working on already to bring more makers' capabilities to the continent, and we're reaching out to partnerships with local commercial and governmental parties to start turning that into reality. So we have a first few of those.
And at what level are you looking to deploy these makers' capabilities? Do you think are you targeting enterprise? Are you targeting the startup founding scene?
We're planning to start on the startup scene. I think one of the big glaring opportunities here is to have, if you just look at Waterfront 17 here, why wouldn't we put a second floor on top of the building where people now have access to a variety of machines, CNC machines, laser cutters, sewing machines, advanced drilling machines, you name it. Second floor on top of it, the first floor really takes care of the office and the laptop and IT infrastructure.
Or the software.
Or the software. So, I mean, that would be a physical embodiment of what I'm describing.
Your approach is so refreshingly straightforward.
I'm myself very practical. We're action-oriented. When we see problems and we see ways by which we can go after them, we execute, we do things, we make things. Yeah?
Oh, that's excellent. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you, Bert. Thank you so much for being on the African Tech Roundup. Now you get the dubious privilege of listening to me chat to you. So, in sometime soon in the future, as you're driving the streets of Silicon Valley.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll do that. Just traffic jams are just waiting for me to spend my time more wisely and effectively. But it will be a little weird listening to myself.
But it'll actually be quite fun, I think, for you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Andile. I appreciated meeting you and participating in what goes on in Africa through your channels.
Absolute pleasure, and you're absolutely welcome to.